You are walking every day, yet your belly fat refuses to disappear. 10,000 steps daily, still no visible change in your stubborn midsection. That sounds unfair, and honestly, it feels like something is missing. So you push harder, you walk faster, you try burning more calories, because every fitness video says more effort should finally bring better results. But what if that advice is quietly leading you in the wrong direction? What if your walking routine is blocking fat loss instead of unlocking it? And yes, that sounds strange, but stay with me for a moment, because this is not about walking less, it is about walking smarter. Most people never question the timing, they only increase the effort, and that exact mistake keeps their body stuck in the same loop. What your body is doing during your walk might completely surprise you, and once you see it, you will never look at walking the same. You stayed consistent even when motivation dropped and progress felt painfully slow. You showed up daily, tracking steps, chasing results, believing effort guarantees fat loss. At first, it felt productive, like you were finally doing everything right. But then weeks passed and your body looked almost exactly the same. That is when frustration quietly begins building under your disciplined routine. Because deep down, you know you are not being lazy or careless. So naturally, your brain tells you to push harder and go further. Walk longer, increase pace, burn more calories, force your body to respond. And for a moment, that belief feels logical and completely convincing. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people never stop to question. What if doing more is exactly what keeps you stuck in place? What if your effort is real, but your timing is completely misaligned? Because once timing enters the equation, everything starts to look different. So let me ask you something that might feel slightly uncomfortable right now. If we could pause time and look inside your body mid-walk, would your fat cells actually be active or completely shut down silently? Because this is where most people unknowingly misunderstand how fat loss works. We assume movement automatically means fat burning, but that is not always true. Your body does not choose fuel simply because you decided to walk. It follows internal signals that most people never even think about daily. And sometimes those signals completely override everything you believe about exercise effectiveness. So your walk might feel productive, but internally, something very different happens. And that difference is exactly what keeps your results from changing. Because once you see what controls that decision, everything starts shifting fast. The real truth is this: fat loss depends on access, not activity alone. You can burn calories during your walk and still not burn stored fat. And that sounds shocking, but your body follows a completely different priority system because fuel selection is controlled by hormones, not just physical effort you apply. Your body constantly decides between using glucose or stored fat for energy, and that decision happens before your walk even begins most of the time. So even if you are consistent, the internal environment may block fat access, which means your effort feels real, but the result stays frustratingly unchanged. This is why some people walk daily and still struggle with stubborn belly fat, not because walking fails, but because the body never switches fuel sources properly. And once you understand what controls that switch, everything starts making sense, because the real decision is happening inside you long before your first step. To understand this, imagine your body as a secure energy storage warehouse. Inside, stored fat sits like valuable fuel waiting to be used eventually. Outside, your muscles are ready, moving, demanding energy with every step forward. But there is one critical detail most people never consider in this system. The door to that stored fat is controlled by a powerful hormonal lock, and that lock is insulin, quietly deciding whether energy gets released or not. Every time you eat, insulin rises to manage nutrients entering your bloodstream. That process is normal, but it also tells your body to stop releasing fat. So even if you walk right after eating, the door remains tightly closed. Your body sees available glucose and chooses that instead of stored energy, which means your walk burns calories, but not the fat you expect. And this is where most people unknowingly get trapped in this same cycle. They move more, but their body keeps choosing the easiest available fuel source. So the effort feels right, but the internal result stays completely different. And once you realize the door was never open, everything starts shifting fast. Now slow this moment down and notice what happens inside your body. During the first 2 minutes, your system begins waking up gently. Your heart rate rises slightly, and your body prepares for incoming demand. Signals are sent. Energy might be needed. Everything starts shifting internally. But if you recently ate, insulin is still present, quietly overriding fat release. So even early on, your body already knows which fuel it will use. Then, around minute 3 to 10, something critical happens without you noticing. Your body selects its primary fuel source based on internal conditions only. If insulin remains high, glucose becomes the easiest and preferred option. If insulin is low, stored fat finally enters circulation for real use. Same walk, same pace, completely different metabolic outcome happening underneath. Then, from 10 to 30 minutes, your body reinforces whichever pattern repeats. It learns from timing, not effort, and adapts faster than most expect. And that silent decision is shaping your results every single day. What happens next is where your body starts learning from repetition patterns. Because your metabolism is not stubborn, it is highly adaptive to habits. Every time you walk after eating, you reinforce one specific fuel behavior. Your body learns that movement usually happens when glucose is already available, so it becomes efficient at using glucose, not stored fat, during activity. And over time, this pattern becomes your default metabolic response every day, which means even consistent walking may never challenge your fat stores properly. Instead, you are training your body to depend on incoming energy constantly. But if walking happens when insulin is low, everything begins shifting slowly. Your body practices accessing stored fat, improving metabolic flexibility over time. That flexibility is what allows smooth switching between glucose and fat usage. Without it, your system becomes locked into one predictable and limiting pattern. So your routine is not just exercise, it is metabolic training in disguise. And the pattern you repeat most is the result your body keeps choosing. Now this pattern starts showing up clearly in your everyday routine behaviors. You eat something small, then go for a walk, thinking it helps fat loss. Your body uses that food energy first, leaving stored fat completely untouched. A few hours later, your energy dips and hunger quietly starts rising again. So you snack again, trying to stay energized and avoid feeling weak. Then you walk again, repeating the exact same internal fuel pattern unconsciously. And without realizing it, you are reinforcing the same metabolic loop daily. Eat, move, burn glucose, feel hungry, eat again, repeat without noticing deeply. Your activity level looks high, but your fat loss stays frustratingly minimal, especially around the belly, where hormonal signals are more sensitive and stubborn. So the problem is not lack of effort, it is lack of fuel contrast. Your body never experiences a moment where stored energy becomes necessary to use. And without that contrast, fat access remains limited no matter your discipline, which is why you feel stuck even when doing everything that seems right. Now this is where real research begins, confirming what most people never expect. Studies show 2 people can walk the same distance with completely different outcomes. And the difference often comes down to timing, not effort or intensity alone. Because when insulin stays elevated, fat oxidation becomes significantly less efficient. Even active individuals may rely mostly on circulating glucose throughout the day, which means movement happens, calories burn, but stored fat remains largely untouched. And here's the surprising part that changes how you see everything. Slow walking in a low insulin state can outperform harder fed state workouts. So it is not about pushing harder, it is about creating the right conditions. This flips the entire idea of fat loss that most people believe, because effort without the right timing can quietly limit your real results. So now everything you believed about your routine starts shifting in perspective, because the issue was never your effort, it was the internal signal timing. You were not doing it wrong, you were just following incomplete information. Your body was not resisting you, it was simply protecting available energy sources. And once you understand that, frustration begins turning into real clarity because your system is not broken. It is actually working exactly as designed. It responds to patterns, signals, and repeated conditions more than raw effort, which means you were never failing. You were just sending mixed instructions. And your body followed those instructions perfectly, every single time, without exception. That realization changes how you see your habits and your results instantly, because now you understand the cause, not just the outcome you experienced. So instead of asking how much you walk, ask when you actually walk, because timing is what creates the environment your body responds to daily. You do not need extreme workouts, you need the right metabolic window instead. Moments when insulin is lower and stored energy becomes accessible again naturally. That is when your body finally shifts from using glucose toward burning fat. And this shift does not require more effort, just better awareness and timing. Even small adjustments in when you walk can change long-term results, because your body learns from contrast, not constant availability of incoming energy. And once that contrast appears, your metabolism begins adapting in a new direction. But most people never experiment with this, so they never see the difference. Now, this is important because this approach is not about pushing extremes. You do not need to starve yourself or force long, uncomfortable walks daily. Your body still needs proper nutrition, hydration, and a stable energy balance. If you feel dizzy, weak, or unstable, that is a signal to adjust immediately. The goal here is guidance, not stress, and awareness, not punishment at all, because sustainable change always works better when your body feels safe. So think back to how you have been walking every single day. Were your fat cells actually active or quietly locked the entire time? Because for many people, the effort was real, but access never happened. And once you understand that, your entire routine starts looking very different. You stop asking how hard and start asking when it actually matters. Because timing is what gives your body permission to release stored energy. And without that permission, nothing changes, no matter how consistent you are. So now I want you to think about your own daily walking habit. Do you walk right after eating or during a low energy window instead? Drop your routine in the comments because this might help someone else too. And in the next video, I will show you a simple weekly walking plan, one that finally trains your body to burn fat without more effort. Because once your body gets access, it finally starts letting go.